space-based organization founded by nuclear engineer Mehran Tavakoli-Kesh is introducing to humanity the science of the universe, plasma science. Kesh Foundation develops universal knowledge and space technologies that provide solutions to major global problems, revolutionizing agriculture, health, energy, transportation, materials, and more. The application of plasma science in the form of specially developed plasma reactors and other devices will give humanity the real freedom to travel in deep space. Plasma science exists throughout the whole universe. It is here and it belongs to you. Our knowledge, research, and development regarding the plasma structure has progressed to the point of enabling everyone to participate in the process. Become a creator and understand the work of the universe for the good of humankind on this planet as well as in space. The science of the universe. The use of megravs, nanomaterials, GANs, liquid plasma, field plasma, and other plasma technologies have come as a new dawn for humanity to progress and work in harmony with the universe. Conventional technology applications are wasteful, damaging, and cause pollution to the planet and all living beings. Plasma science provides solutions and improves existing methods and use of resources in all aspects that touch the lives of all beings. Plasma is defined by the Foundation as an entire content of fields which accumulate and create matter and is not defined by its physical characteristics like ionization or temperature. Also, with plasma science, we understand how we can convert matter back to the fields. Quoting from Mr. Kesh, MEGRAV stands for magnetic gravitational, which means plasma absorbs or gives. And every plasma has the both. It has give and it has take. And when they can't find the balance, they distance themselves until they find the balance they can give to the others. That they can receive what they want to receive and give further. Certain atoms and molecules release and absorb magnetic or gravitational fields. Released fields are available to be absorbed by other objects. The Kesh Foundation has developed a way to gather these free-flowing fields from the environment within a resourceful and beneficial new state of transitional matter, which M.T. Kesh named GANs. The first step of the process of the formation of various basic types of GANs is nano-coating metals. This is carried out either chemically by etching, steam coating with sodium hydroxide, or thermally by heating, fire coating by gas burner. During either coating process, gaps between outermost layers of atoms are created. The residual coating is often referred to as nano-coating, defined by the structured layers of nanomaterial, which build up during the creation process of the coating. Nano-coated metal in interaction with other various metal plates in a saltwater solution creates megrav fields. These fields then attract available elements to form a specific GANs, which collects and settles at the bottom of the container. This GANs is formed from independent energized molecules like little suns that can be used in various applications.
Welcome everyone to the 189th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, September 14th, 2017. And as in the last 188 workshops, we have Mr. Kesh ready to tell us about the latest in plasma technology today. Mr. Kesh, are you available there for us?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers series of teachings. As we have said before, on Thursday mornings, we are establishing the one nation, one race, one planet. We give room to the people who will structure these organizations for us to run the platform in the Thursday teachings that they can explain, and we see the maturity as they come to understand how to, in a way, run the affairs of the Universal Council, the Earth Council, and other organizations which they will become responsible for. Do we see any members of the Universal Council or the Earth Council who are online?
Yes, there's several in the panelists right now.
Can I just add something before they start? Mary Wu, the member of the Earth Council for Northern American continent, she has stepped down due to conditions she has explained to the other members of the council, which we understood, and the pressures which goes with this job. And we have accepted her step down. And at the same time, we needed of the people of the same maturity and the same understanding, because the Earth Councils are a special breed of people. The more people will understand as they work, they come forward. And so we could not find anyone more fitting than another member of the Universal Council. Very much the way we brought Dr. Paris from Universal Council to Earth Council, now we've done the same thing with another member of the Universal Council, that he now becomes the member of the Earth Council. We let him to introduce himself as he's present, as he has left his position as a Universal Council and become a member of the Earth Council. Wayne will explain himself and his vision as a member of the Earth Council, and we thank him for accepting the position as the member of the Earth Councils as of this week. So the Vietnamese language is open for any Vietnamese who would like to know the Universal Council with their Vietnamese language. Okay, go ahead please.
Hi everybody. Hi Mr. Cass. Thank you for the opportunity to welcome me as part of the Earth Council for North America. I'm looking forward to work with everyone, and we will continue with the process for peace. That's my wish, and the wish of the council. So we united to fulfill that that obligations of bringing humanities as one nation, one planet, and one race. So it's just very honors and pleasures to work with the Universal Council and also the Earth Council now, and also the core team, and also all the knowledge seekers workshop seekers around the world, and with all the humanities, so that we can achieve peace and maintain peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for accepting the position. Could you please give us some more background now that you're a part of the, what I call, group of the 6 members of the Earth Council? Can we know more about your background, as we could not know when you were a member of the Universal Council? Where you come from, your experiences in life, and what you see the future with peace.
My background is as a social workers uh, in United States. I I worked my way up from high school all the way to graduate school to become a social workers to call uh, a person to become a social workers in the United States. Uh, I have to go through school to get a master's degree. So because of that process, I learned the education system, how it works, um, because the background in the bachelor degrees I have is in social sciences. I was studying religions and social works and all religions and politics to prepare to go into the social work field. In the social work fields in the United States, there's 2 fields to go into. One of them is the children's side or the elderly side. But for the children's side, I cannot handle it because it's too much for me. Because of the backgrounds I have is with the wars in Vietnam and the refugees and all that. I went through all that, so I see the the heaviness of that, and also the investigations of children abuse, sexual abuse, psychologically abuse, and physically abuse. So for me, I choose the size of the other side. It's called the elderly side. So I went into that size, but the same thing with physical abuse, sexual abuse, and financial abuse, and uh, and that's why I worked in, and also I work in a nursing home. Uh, I see the physical deteriorations of the human being, the psychological, um, the the financial size of it too, and that's why I learned. But at the same time, I I also work in uh, the the housing side, the financial size of it, financial size of that. So I kind of sees the needs of humanities is we need in the physical size is they need food, shelters, and and connected with the financial size of this world. But also when you work with the elderly, when I work with the elderly, I see a lot of death and dying. Uh, I was involved with that to see the the physical deteriorations. But when people are in pain, sometimes they turn inward. So I see that the consciousness. Some of them dies in peaceful conditions, and some of them dies in the um, in in a lot of pain. But at the end, they also have something that may make them peaceful. That's why I always question myself. I did not I did not know. The school did not teach me all that. Uh, Personally, I have to experience that when I see it's about when one day you see about 3 deaths and you start questioning yourself. That's why I start questioning myself how what life is here on earth is all about. Why are we here? Uh, why we exist in this universe? For what purpose? That's why when I studied with the Cash Foundations, and that's why when I learned about the nanomaterial, the technologies of this can help people to ease their pain. So and then and eventually we fly out this Earth and travel to deep space. That's why I start to appreciate humanity's need to have a peaceful mind so that we're able to do this, able to enjoy the, the silence of the universe and the peaceful way. That's why I joined the Universal Council back in 2016 in Dubai, and then to work with the Universal Councils and gain some experience, and now is the opportunity that for the Earth Council. So we will link all these to understand the human needs, at the same times to progress in the peace process, so that will the mankind, humanities will understand why peace is necessary for us to travel to the deep space, and also be amongst ourselves with each human beings, with other entities, and also with the planet, to repair the planet to the better conditions, so that we able to enjoy the plentifulness of what this planet, the blue planet, offers to us, and also in deep space, what the universe have offered to humanity. But there is a conditions. The conditions is we have to have peace and love within ourselves, and extend it to other beings on Earth, and also around the universe. So I see the necessity of it, but also there is a way that we can figure out this when the Universal Councils and Earth Councils and the core team are working on the charter. And I see the importance of that charter is talk about the soul. When we tap into our souls, we see the beauties of it, and the soul, it has the much more than the physicalities that we have in this present times. But because of the souls is so some people call this consciousness, awareness, or different names of it, but when we talk about the real one that is touch all of us, is the soul is very peaceful, and it wants everything. It wants unities, it wants love, it wants the freedoms, and that's what I attract to it. Is you see the beauties when humanities work together in that perspective, and I'm very hopeful, and it's that we can all achieve this, even though we have up and downs, but the potential is so great, and the opportunities is now for us to move forward and step forward, for each one of us take the responsibility to achieve peace, so that we can progress and thrive to the greatest potential of each human being on the face of this blue planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Wayne, if you don't mind, it's good for our, what I call Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers, to learn a knowledge, a piece of knowledge which cannot be learned in the books, as you said, part of your talk. I know I have many friends from Vietnam during the war. Some of them I highly respect due to what they've been through. And we cannot learn these things. As you said, you passed it in your talks. I know you've been through the Vietnam War, and many American listeners listen to this. And many other people who contemplating wars listen to these teachings. I've been through revolution, and nobody can feel these things unless you've been through it. And this matures you in so many ways. It's not a pain, but it's the wisdom which brings you. Some people go to the extreme of it, and some people try to repeat it because they suffer, they want others to suffer. But some people like you and me see that suffering as a step to change, to bring the change. And not many people can explain the feeling of revolutions when you lose everything overnight, or the wars which you get entangled with, and you have to find a place to survive for a time being till the next day. As I said, I have many close friends, Vietnamese friends. If it's not painful for you, if it's acceptable to you, as Dr. Parviz explained to us, the emotion of a doctor on both sides of the war in Iran and Iraq war, and what he's made him to be what he is. Could you explain to us, if it's possible, your experience, where you came from, and how you got to United States, and your experience of the Vietnam War, which is one of the most horrendous wars we saw in East Asia, that we learn from it and becomes part of us to understand why you strive for peace. What is the ethos behind your thinking, please?
Yes, Mr. Guest. I still remember, this is April 28, 29 of 1975. I was very young. I didn't know anything. So I was dodging the bullets. I hear helicopter on top of the house. Um, and then I just curious about it, and just opened the doors, and that there's soldiers in front with the M16s and tanks on the street. And he says, "Close the door. Go inside, you kids." That's all I remember. I was so scared, and I shut the doors, and then I went inside, and I went underneath the bed, and start shaking, and say to myself, uh, I just say, why I cannot go out there and play? Um, and my family said, no, this is you can't do that. And then that's what I remember. So the shock I still remember to this day, as I say this. And then after that, and then my family, 5 years later, 1980s, escaped out of Vietnam by riverboat, become a refugee in Thailand. Whilst on the trip, we were plundered by the pirates 3 times, and they searching us for golds and monies and silvers, whatever is valuable. They take it from us, and then after that, they throw some rice. They threw some rice for us to eat, and then they capture some people and they put the guns in their head and for them to throw out the precious things that they have. And I saw all that, and then I was starving, and I was drinking waters by the spoons of uh, about 2 spoons of waters each time. So 3 times you have three meals. So each time is 2 spoons of water. So 3 spoons of water, teaspoon for each members in the riverboat to cross the South China Sea. At that time, my third days, I said, this is it. I'm done with my physicality. I can't survive anymore, and I hold the uh, the empty container, and I hope that I'll be float inside, uh, flow around the oceans, and hopefully somebody will rescue me, and I pass away. I pass away. Yeah, I just completely. But yeah, I just pass out, and just and then the next morning I remember that I still alive. Uh, it's coming the fourth day. It was 7 days or 7 day or 10 days in the oceans with just like you see the Alma the Irma uh, uh, the storm. You see people the flooded, but this is the flood, but you cannot walk out. Stuck. And then I went to refugee camps, and then with barbed wires around the fence and M16s against, and a lot of people, just like tens of thousands of people in one small place, and you know, but luckily they put us in right at the ocean so that we could have an ocean breeze. And then I came to the United States, and then was September 3rd, 1980s. I came to the United States. My first night in the United States uh, was very peaceful. Um, the whole thing changed with my perception. One day I was in the torn countries, fleeing for my own life as a child, dodging the bullet or bomb. The next day the next few years later was in the oceans, almost become a uh, a piece of meat to feed the fish. And the next mornings, I was in the dry land, facing in the refugee camps and fighting for the next survival. And then the next day, she was in the free. At that time, I called the United States. Los Angeles is my land, the lands of the free, and I peaceful. That's so I start with my educations again. With that process, I always dream that one day I able to share my stories and stop all the wars. Is it possible? Why we have to go through this to prove for what? Running for our life just for to survive. And I always questions that all the time. Why we are doing this? Who doing this to humanities? And why some able to survive and others are dead? Is 3 million soldiers in Vietnam's dead because of the Vietnam Wars, and 58,000 American soldiers dies, and others too, that civilians, and the psychological effects of this. And then after that, the refugees, the boat people, there's another millions of them dies. And then rapes, and also murders during the lands, and get into this and start over again with the new land, new language, and struggle. And I just questions all this in my heart and my soul. I say, you know, if there is a creator, a loving creators, why these things are happening? And I start to read into the scriptures from Genesis to Revelations, and different religions. They all teach peace, but somehow we're not peaceful. And that's the lessons behind this is humanities need to mature just a little bit, not to practice anything that hurtful. Is you don't have to pick up the guns to be uh, to hurt other people. With bare hand, you can do that, but we need to think twice before we need to do that to other human beings or other living beings, so that we can progress. All these are too much for a person to take it. I if anybody go through wars, or any go through that, all the headaches and all the man-made disasters that happening, each individually or the one that causes, please think twice about this. I extend myself to the peace and the love. Please, whatever you do, think first or feel first. That will affect other people, other beings. And also not just in this lifetime, but it's also the next lifetime. Uh, we we here in the physicalities for temporary, 70 years, 80 years. Some of them are 5 years old, and some of them are 10 years old. They have to suffer all these. But their soul still continue. They're not die yet. Our soul never die. So please, before anybody, if you understand what the souls are working, let's work together. Let's join together and share the experience what you have uh, with other people for the peaceful purpose here on earth and through the universe. Because it's in vain to all do to hurt other people for just a few change, a few dollars, or even millions of dollars. That's why when I work with the elderly, I see the millionaires that die. Before they die, they struggle so much. But that's why I start to question again. Why is just a little piece of paper that we call money, and people have to go after each other's in the painful and dreadful way to achieve the end, but other people ends are so much sufferings and tortures with their physicalities and also in their soul too. So it, that that's why in my heart and in my soul, I always love for peace. That peaceful moments in life is so precious. when you sit just doing nothing in the stillness of it, you see the beauties of who you are, and you start to love it. In that moment of life, I call it, this moment is the best moment of life. um, and and because of that, I will do anything to share, and also to, you know, be part of the people that want to be peace. So this I extend myself to be part of that opportunity to collaborate and to cooperate, um, as as long as I'm in these physicalities and then beyond, uh, to understand and to achieve peace. It takes a lot of work, but we can do it. We, as a human race, we are mature enough right now to see all these things are happening, and we have, all of us will stand up and say to ourselves, enough is enough, and time to progress, and the love and the joys of being together as a human race in a peaceful way. Thank you, Mr. Cass, and thank you for everyone that listened to this 189th Knowledge Seeker Workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Thank you very much for accepting the position as a member of the Earth Council. Those of you who are familiar with the work of the Foundation and setting up of the Earth Council understand that the way the members of the Earth Council are chosen, and if you look into the background of all of them, they come from born in one continent but live in another due to circumstances that they had, or they did understand more about the changes in man and one humanity does to another, and how lives are uprooted with no reason, just for the greed of the man. Literally, it's the greed of the man. When we look at every member of the Earth Council, you'll find the same kind of line of thinking. Most being through traumas of understanding how injustices and how wars are, and how conflicts are created for just benefit of the few, or for just someone to be over somebody else's power. These experiences enriches the Earth Council. These experiences brings the members of the Council, when they gather together, to understand each other and what is the objectives of the Council. Bringing peace, creating condition for peace, and at the same time gathering the experience of the past to make peaceful life for rest of humanity and man in the space. We have taught a lot in every aspect of the science, but the science of the emotion, science of understanding the feeling, comes from within, comes from within the man, with his understanding and observing injustices and incorrect conduct. No one can understand this unless you've been through, and no one can appreciate it unless you've been part of it. In so many ways, when we see the people who cause these kind of injustices, the people who incite war, in so many ways have no soul at peace. Many names we can mention. Many names we can call, who have been the cause of war just for their own ego and their own satisfaction of ego. As Wayne said, the war does not with a gun. It can be in any shape or form. And this is where we are heading for. This is the target of changing the course. And this is why so many ways we exchange knowledge for peace. The knowledge to bring peace to your emotion through the understanding of the work of the plasma. The knowledge of bringing peace to the planet through disarming through new knowledge the armies who have no sense to exist. Will strive. The Keshe Foundation work is heavily getting supported in the background by different governments and organizations. And in due course, as we have asked them and we sit with them, is for them to stand up in supporting the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. There are those who would love to be part of it, but are scared of committing their nation to it. My advice to you, as I know many of you listeners will read this, as we are in touch with you and we have negotiated with you in times, sign the peace treaty and commit your nation. The rest is the fear which does not exist. As I said, we start teaching more and more in depth about the knowledge of the plasma, and in reality the plasma of the soul of the man. And as we go deeper and deeper, the teachings become very, very small in teaching. Because even, for example, last week's teaching, not many people understood the depth of the knowledge. The depth of the knowledge is very short burst of it, because it takes a long time for man even to understand and grasp the concept of what is being said. It is for us to make that difference. And the difference doesn't come by 1 or 2 steps. We are making efforts, and in a coming time we will show how the efforts will be gathered together to be able to complete the process of peace. As we said, we give both to the members of the Earth Council and the Universal Council to be part of these teachings and explain their position as a member of the Council. Their job at the moment is sitting towards writing the book, what we call the books or the message of peace, the ethos of peace for humanity to come. It's not going to be written by one, as we said, but it's going to be written by many of us, which each one of us through universal language touches every language on this planet. Is there anyone from the Universal Council who would like to enlighten us? Rick, are you there?
A second there. Hello, yes, I'm here, Mr. Keshe. I see there's about 6 or 7 people from the Universal Council here as the panelists. Perhaps one of them would like to speak.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. As we agreed, we would take turns to present each one of us as a council member. And we are all working and we're all aware of how much and what can be changed. But the achievement, as Wayne just brought forward, is by sharing what you gain as knowledge, what might serve somebody else when you see them in need, or where you can give a given hand. It is all by, as Wayne said, maturing, even a tiny little bit, just to walk away from violence, to walk away from pain, to walk away from hurting. So instead of keeping this as topics, last Tuesday platform we used to convert and walk away from pain, suffering, because we all know it somewhere at a point in our life it exists. It is a point where you mature faster than when your life goes on a smooth path. But we are all desiring that we have learned enough. We are all yearning for that to be changed. So we start putting our first steps into creating the path. How can we increase the beauty? How can we increase the joy? How are we as a pivot point so important that nobody is aware of how we are connected with each other, one another, that when we position ourselves, that by us making one slight direction in choice, in intent, we are automatically reorganizing, repositioning fields all around us, but it covers the whole planet. And this is what Wayne was trying to bring forward. If more people are aware that they are the finger on the position and they choose with the correct intent to maneuver towards that beauty, to bring the beauty within yourself forward, to accept that each one of us carries a jewel inside, is just to go and find it, because in some parts of the world, you cannot even look at yourself as a beauty. But we are trying to stimulate people to go and to reveal your own beauty. And it is a part of us. Somebody is good at teaching, somebody is good at taking care of other people. Some are taking care for sick people, some people are guiding children. When you are already in this kind of position, and there's so many, even being a farmer or working in a factory, you're there not only to serve yourself, but you're serving the whole society, because you're part of something that will serve somebody else. Even if you're making chairs or beds, or you're cutting wood, or you're harvesting, or you're working in the farms, you all are part of serving something for somebody else. So it is an awareness which nobody brings to you, as you are already part. Now, how can we learn to bring it more in the open, to be that kind of awareness that when I go out and I bring my child to school, he will be part of a different future. So I already am that one finger on that energy which makes the move to bring the child to the school, for it to learn in a different environment, to learn what is going around him, because it's changing so fast that we can sometimes not even keep up. But then making your child aware that he's part of another part to serve, because what do? The first question we ask our children when they start coming to a certain age, what do you want to be when you grow up? Some of them say, we don't know yet, or I don't know, or I want to be this or that. And certain children are right on the dot. I want to be an actress, I want to be a singer, I want to be a dancer, I want to be an artist. And usually those children which are already carrying this joy and the target, they have already manifested these fields and going to follow that path. So if you are already carrying so much, don't think you're not important. Don't think you don't carry a jewel, but manifest it more. Be aware more when you put your clothes on to walk out of the door. As I said before, each one has a different type of uniform. It's our clothing, but it carries a message. When you're going to go from home to somewhere, you're going to be serving somebody. You're going to give somebody a hand. You're going to be speaking to somebody. So if you decide to go and step out and be that pivot point of that field with the correct intent to make it more beautiful and be more aware that you carry that beauty, then you are already going to change so many people around you. And Rick had a beautiful time. I don't know if he can magically bring it forward and then maybe even carry on in other parts of the teaching, that we are not just one. We are all connected. You change your position in your thinking, what you're going to give to somebody, how you're going to bring even a present to somebody else. You know, the joy of and the care, how you're going to choose it, what color. These are all fields of intent. And if you're aware of those fields and you, by your awareness, you can increase them, because then you really make more out of it. And it's not so difficult to observe and say, if I make that move, as Wayne brought so clearly forward, that tiny little change, if I make that so indecision in the morning and I walk out with a message of, you know, I'm going to be the change, I'm going to be that pivot point, then your whole surroundings are already changing. And this is where a lot of people don't think, you know, we are not important. You are so important because you're part of everything else. You're connected to so many more. And it's that awareness. And then you connect the intent to it. You increase your fields, as Mr. Kesh always says. Everything is fields. Even you are a walking plasma field. It's just your skin, which is the container. Because Jalal brought something very nice forward. He says, what is now more important, the chicken or the shell? And I said, I will ask. And I asked Mr. Kesh, and Mr. Kesh said, they're both important, because one cannot carry the other one without the other one carrying the other one. So it was an indication of, you know, you're all important, because we're all linked. We're all in one big, nice plasma field. We're on one big, beautiful planet. And if each knowledge seeker can understand that you are such an important pivot point of achieving peace by your own decision every morning, every minute of the day, even passing the mirror and looking into your own eyes, which are your soul, and say, you know, you're beautiful. You change your fields, you change your intent, and you will see your day will go much smoother. And we're all learning. We're all on a path of gathering like sponges. The message which I want to bring as a council member is go for the beauty, go for the joy, increase the joy of who you are, what you are. Increase the fields, and there you go. That's Rick bringing these pivot points so important forward. You will see, as it was on Tuesday, he will place the magnets on the table. And now he's using only one finger. And you see, the finger is your physicality. The magnet is, let's say, your intent. Now, if you move with your finger, your physicality, and you go.
Excuse me, Rick,
yes?
you got to share a screen. We don't see you on the main screen, please. Rick, you got to share your camera on the screen. Thank you very much.
Rick, I think I see your video open instead. Can you try, or are you doing something else there? I see you're not spotlighting it. Oh, I see. Okay, never mind. You got it. Yeah, we just couldn't see it on the main screen, but we got it now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. I know this is a very beautiful example, but you know, the main explanation about all this is, as Mr. Kesh said last time, he said, my wish is my command. And what was his wish? World peace. And he said, I will achieve it because it's my wish. Now, if I can use Rick's finger on one magnet, and now Rick starts, and let's say this is Mr. Kesh, in his physicality, but with the intent and the wish of world peace. Now, where he's placed on this board, all the other magnets which are around are all of you. We can put 1,000 on it, we can put 10,000 on it, we can put the 10 billion on it. But let's say we just give you an example with a few. Now, if this is on the finger, the intent of peace, now the fields are maneuvering, the intent is there. Now, whoever is already in the process of creating world peace will reposition itself towards how Mr. Kesh is moving, because he's creating the fields through different levels, not only by his wish, but also by bringing the knowledge, how to achieve it, how to apply it, how to share it, how to be aware of it, and how to increase it yourself. Now, for you to understand that you're all part and you're all connected, when Rick is moving this, every single one is repositioning itself a little bit. Some are moving faster. If I can give you as an example, knowledge seekers, which are very close, are moving much faster. You see, there is a continuous moving, and maybe even Mr. Kesh can explain this whole sequence in a better way. But I, as a council member, want to bring you forward to understanding we are all part of a total. And if one starts and all the others are connecting and repositioning themselves to go for the same intent, for the same wish, my wish is my command for world peace, then each one will reposition itself, because it's a wave you create of plasma field. And this, on this board, the way Rick is showing, you cannot deny that you will not move eventually. And that's why Wayne is so correct. Look how everything gets repositioned. And I wish we could work with a bigger board and put more on it. But I know children, when they saw it appearing on last Tuesday, they were confused, because to them, magnets are supposed to go towards each other. And they were going, they were clacking, and they couldn't get it the way Rick was presenting it. So they had to figure out, at the same time they were listening to the explanation, that they had to change the magnets for them to change the position of the fields. Otherwise, they were continuously getting them on their fingers, and it can hurt. So finally, after quite a long time exercising, they managed to get the same setting as Rick. And still with Rick, it can happen that when it's going too fast, but when it goes slowly, you're all connected. So the more magnets which we are gathering peacefully by increasing the joy and the pleasure of being where we are, knowing we are connected, and increasing that intent, we are repositioning the whole planet very gentle, very slowly, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. But with this message, I wanted to point out we are all connected. We are all important. We are all part of it. Now it's to become aware how you can create and increase how beautiful you are to bring your beautiful message. Thank you for your presence today.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Any other member of the Earth Council or Universal Council would like to speak? Leave those magnets there, Rick. I will show you something else, please. Is there any other members of the councils who would like to speak, or do we close the session regarding the councils?
I don't see any hands up.
I think we learned a lot from the two sides of the coin of the Universal Council and the Earth Council. We usually don't have much to say from the members of the core team. Is there anything from a member of core team who've been the longest established setup of the foundation? Or how you see the progress in the years we've been and how we progress as a member of the core team?
Good morning, Mr. Cash.
You're not a member of the core team, are you?
No, I was going to ask, do we have the Persian and Farsi Council?
No, we had Dr. Parviz. Can you close your microphone, please? We had Dr. Parviz as a member of the Universal Council, who has been moved or accepted a position as the member of the Earth Council now. The Persian or Farsi language member of the council is free at the moment.
Okay, so if somebody wants to apply for it, I can do that, yes?
Yes, I think you're a perfect candidate, but you have to go through the channels of the application.
It's no problem.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Azar. The important part of the whole work is not to get carried away with the emotion, as many groups have done and come and go. My work has been to create a solid base for peace. By teaching first, sharing knowledge first, in bringing in many ways peace to mankind in the small numbers, I try to establish understanding of the work of the plasma, that through technology we do not create any myths that there is something there. Everything can be explained, everything can be put on the table and scientifically explained, that this time peace comes out of understanding and peace does not come out of sentimentality. To do this, it's taken years, but in so many ways, as I've said many times, the time, the date, and the place was appointed centuries and thousands of years ago. As is like a man When you make something, you know you need so many days or so many weeks or so many hours to cook a pot. It will not be there the minute you put everything in. The progress of the understanding and the progress of the enhancement of the soul, of the life of any entity, has a duration. It is known. It is like a painting that every color has to come on the painting canvas, that the beauty of the final picture is seen, that it can be appreciated. Human race has been down this path for a long time. Different pieces of colors on the canvas of the life of this planet has been added. And now more or less it's time to put this canvas in maturing the soul of the man and the picture getting completed next to the canvas of the universal community. That you become part of a piece of a jigsaw which completes more and brings more to the beauty of the totality. In so many ways, we have to understand the process. We have to understand where the knowledge comes from and understand how we are connected in a very strange way. I've done this, I've shown this before in the teachings, but what is interesting is what is on the table with the magnets. I watched this to be done last Tuesday in the teachings, in the Tuesday afternoon teachings. And very strange, in most of my teachings I use this, but not many people understand. But let's explain, add to the knowledge, or in a way, let's polish the knowledge. Then we understand how much we are more connected. What you see these magnets on the table, they all have a connection to the board. The board is the earth, and these magnets are men. You see them how they're connected, very well connected. Rick, if you could take one of the magnets and try to push and see how far it holds before other magnet move. Can you do that, please? Do you have a thicker magnets with you? If you have a thicker magnets, yeah, maybe that will do. If you can make another magnet stack of 3, and it's better with one. If you have a thick circular magnets with 2 of them, it's much better than these thin ones. Thin ones don't show much. Yep, that attracts to each other. The ring magnets you had in your hand, whoop, you got everything up. The thick ring magnets you had, if you have a couple of them, put them on the table. Yeah, and the other one. Just push it and see how far it'll take to move the other one. Okay, just measure it. Just go in that just before it touch, very slow. Bring it in the middle. Bring it in the middle. Okay, just very slow, just before it makes it move. Okay. No, leave it. No. We should leave it the way it was. Leave it on the top. Yeah, okay. You see, it's about 2 centimeters, or 1.5, just about, let's say 2 centimeters. If you put these rings to be the soul of the man, and the table to be the planet, you see parts of the fields of this soul in attaching to the planet has dictated its position of distance. 2 centimeters. Because the soul is still attached to physicality and is connected through the fields. You look at that table, that white piece of paper, as just a paper. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as that piece of white paper is a combination of gravitational magnetic fields, which my soul shares with it, and the other soul shares with it. So that creates closeness, compactness, because we are all connected to this planet. This is the way it stands, the way it absorbs us and hold on to us, because of not only our physicality is connected to it, but the gravitational magnetic field of the atoms in that paper are connected to our soul too, which is the earth. Now, if you just turn, you see the surface of the ring, which is stuck to the table. If you calculate the area of that ring, is this the amount of attachment of the man to physicality of the planet. Now, if you put the ring on its sideway and reduce its attachment to the table, if you can stand it up without holding it, if you can stand, maybe you put two magnets together that you can hold it. Put two magnets together as one, then they can stand up. Yeah? Get another two magnets that they can stand up the same. Your table is better slanted so it rolls down. Do you have another couple of magnets the same? You see, the distance has changed. Can you put the two magnets again and measure the distance between the two flat? Now you see we're talking about much longer distances, less attachment to physicality of the earth. We move to 3.5, 4 centimeter. But we're still connected to this table, to this planet. This is our soul, this is our physicality which is attached to it. But you see, no, it's got to be the same. Distances changes. But what will be interesting, do you have another magnet, ring magnet like this? You have no more? Okay, keep it as one, that's good enough. Just put one. Let's look at the one, it doesn't matter. Now you see the distance is from 21.5 to about 26. It moved from 2 centimeter, which was more attachment to physicality of the planet, to more or less double. But what will be interesting is if you remove that soul, if you remove that soul from physicality of attachment to this table, which is the earth, now you see the distances. If you turn it on its side now, if you turn them on their side, you see, and the other one, you have less physicality attachment and you see game changes. But there's another interesting point with this is, now move the other one up into the air. Just move up. Move the single one up into the air and see how much more the distance become. The distance moves, increases. And when you do the same thing with the other magnet detached from the earth or from the table, you'll find out the field of movement increases drastically. Because there is no more attachment to the table. There is no more attachment to the earth. So, if we understand the importance of this, then we understand how our soul works. How we are detached from physicality in a different dimension. What is very interesting is, we see this in the matter state. But if you look at the ring, a hollow ring in the center, that's the soul of the man, and the ring is the physicality of the man. It's so much the energy in the center which dictates the strength of the physicality of the ring. This is something which I've taught in many years and a lot of people don't understand, is that the energy The master energy sits in the center of the ring, not on the matter state of the ring. That's where the soul of the man is. That's where so much energy is absorbed and given, that gives the dimension of the physicality to what it needs to be. These are symbolic, but in fact are not far from the truth. If you bring more magnets or less magnets, weaker magnet or a stronger magnet, they all interact, they have fields to interact. We dictate the position, we dictate what we would like to give. As I've said, the soul of the man has a given strength which at that point, let's say the earth from the sun, or a given position in the brain from the soul, creates the property, the effect, the manifestation of the earth. And the same ray in a different strength further away from this planet creates manifestation of Saturn or Jupiter. The biggest problem we have is to understand where our fields of the strength of our emotion dictates the matter of physicality of us in the dimension of existence. In one of my teachings long time ago, I explained something very simple. And I go back to it today because it'll make those who understand the science of the life in the universe closer to understanding the creation. Man is passive. Man does not look deep enough into the reality of the existence. In our teachings, we have explained that we all, for the first time, understood that we are created out of amino acid, which is the gaseous part of this planet. But there is a very strange phenomena. The phenomena is that how did some of us decided to have a bone structure, arms and legs? Some of us decided to have a mixture of the bone structure and muscle. Some of us in conversion decided to have no bone structure. Some of us decided on the thicker bones to walk on the flat land, and some of us decided to have some bones that we can swim, but they had to be very thin like a fish. Why and what state of the soul has created the desire of the manifestation? Even though we all came from the same amino acid. I put this question once, some time ago, to the agricultural teaching section, and I saw it was not able, it was not understood the way I was intended. What is the soul of a tree? That it manifests itself in the physicality of the tree. We chop the branches, we chop the leaves, but it still survives. We chop a finger of a man, by accident in any event, he still survives. It's like a tree. But where is the soul of a plant? Then this teaches how in the space we have to learn not to look at the physicality, but find the essence of the creation. How come man holds his soul above and his legs and arms down to be connected to the planet? And how come the tree or a shrub or a plant embeds its soul in the planet and it let its legs and arms move away from the planet, exactly opposite to human race or the animals? Does the attachment of the soul to the planet which dictates this? Or is it the reality that the soul conditions itself to the condition of the manifestation of the fields within the planet, according to what it needs to be absorbed? Then we have to ask a major question from ourselves. In the science of space, in the science of deep space, where do we look for the soul of the entity? In the root of the tree, or in the head of the being? Why do we very much, if we look in the structure of the physicality of the plant's life, we see the same. The trees are like the human body, have bone structure and they stand up. The shrubs are like a fish, and herbs and other vegetations are like the worms, have chosen no skeleton as such. Then we have to understand what is the function of the soul in the manifestation of the entity in the structure of the universe. Why has this planet appeared in the physicality as it is, in such a position in the structure of this solar system, where the soul is the sun? And literally, if you look, these planets and their moons are like the fingers, kidneys, arms and legs, which from outside, which the man has not had the knowledge to look into this solar system, shows an entity of being. Our physical structure as a sun, as a solar system, is not what you think, shape of an egg. It has a feature, and its feature is very much according to what it has inside it. I made man in the image of myself. So when we see arms and legs, when we see trunk of trees and branches, when we see fishes with gills and flippers and everything else, this shows the manifestation of physicality in respect to the strength of the soul of the entity, which is the sun. So when man moves into the space and looks at the totality of the fields of this solar system, we see a creature. We see entity with totality of the length and the strength of his field. Do we look for the soul of the planet, or do we judge it by its manifestation of its physicality? We have kidneys, we have heart, and we have liver, but none of us stick our head in other one's head to look what's inside it. We look what it looks from outside. And this is what the scientific world and cosmology have not understood. In time, we will look at the structure of the manifestation of the entity of the planet or a star before we reach it. It's like the soul of the man dictating for the man to have a finger, a toe, and what color and what shape. There is no difference in the world of the creation. It's only man who has made this restriction according to his own intelligence and understanding of the intellect of the creation. So when We see these magnets, how they move. We see if we could create a dust of ions, for example, on this board, we would have seen how the fields change these dusts. If you put a dust of iron on this board and move the magnet underneath, that it can get the fields, but it cannot get attached to it, as many of us we've done as children in the school, we see the fields. Some stand up, some go down, some spread, some take a shape. And this is exactly what is with our structure of our life. How do we plan it? How do we structure it? How do we decide? Now that we have detached ourselves, we are gaining the knowledge to detach ourselves from this planet. How much will be attached to this planet? How much we are still part of the structure of this planet? This is part of what we need to understand, and this is part of what in the totality we have not understood. I made man in the image of myself. So now that we can control our own soul, we understand what we put in it, we get out of it. What image do we would like to be seen by the others in respect to our soul? It's the game change for humanity. We always blamed and looked for the God to solve it for us. Now we are the creator of our own soul. How would we like to be seen? As I said in many teachings before, now it's us who decides and not us who can play. We don't need to be preachers, but to understand the creation and understand that we are part of this creation. And from now on, as we go into space and we decide how we're going to manifest ourselves in a deep space according to where we arrive. And now that we have managed to come to this point of intellect, why don't we do the change here? Why don't we strive to make the change here before we go? Before we open the space to man and see what these changes brings for us. Would all of us become blonde blue eyes, or would they all like to be black and brown hair? Would we all look Chinese, or would we all like to be whatever color, race and creed we have chosen to call ourselves? Or can we change from Chinese with a flicker of finger to a black man in Africa? In many ways, yes, we can. It's just the lack of trust in us, or the way we have manifested our souls in our physicality, which has changed us. Otherwise, we have all this in our hand. As I've said before, if we can do it outside, why can't we do it inside? Or have we find a way of abusing the others from what we are doing inside, outside, knowing that we cannot abuse and the book is open? This is the mystery which man has to solve himself. If you are going to be looking different in deep space, and as we all are born in different areas and we have taken different shapes and colors, which means it's our soul which dictates our condition, then why don't we do it now? Why don't we choose the path of peace and become one race? The question is, what do we have to lose? Or the best part of it is, what we are there to gain. As I said, there are no coincidences in the life of the man on this planet. So it's the same in the life of the Keshe Foundation. There is no coincidences that we get Wayne to become member of the Earth Council as such a crucial point. In a coming time, we will understand the reason. I know the reason. I was thinking about this 3 weeks ago. 3, 4 weeks ago, I said, in the choice of the Earth Council, there is a problem. I could see the problem. But I could not, as a member of the Earth Council, do anything with it because we cannot interfere. And we saw the change. In less than a week, 10 days, I saw the change. And that clicked on me. That was what I was thinking to wish, because it needed a change, and the change is there. Because by knowing the need and what is to come in what we have negotiated, the position of a soul like Wayne becomes very key to our negotiations for peace. When, in a way, 4 members or 3 members of the core team or Universal Earth Council or Universal Council sit on the same basis together in negotiating for peace with the world leaders, collectively we speak from the strength of experience and knowledge. And this is important to all of us. And this is important for the negotiations for peace. Because together we can make that change. And together we can make those who are war makers to understand. A very nice butterfly, flying detached, but connected to attachment of the field. This is part of what we have to understand. This is part of what we as a race has to gather to be able to understand the need and to be able to understand the position. If any of us understood the talk in past 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you have walked the path of peace. You have created the condition for peace within the soul of yourself, which then it reflects to the others. You can see how easily, now that you're all educated in the knowledge of plasma, can connect, work of the physics, work of the universe, work of the soul of the man, work of the understanding, the knowledge of the universe so easily to each other, and enjoy and rejoice their existence. But at the end, what would you like to be manifested yourself as, now that you can change your soul? Would you like to walk out of the room and come back in as a Chinese because everybody is Chinese in the room, that you're all the same? Or would you like to go out in the other room where everybody is black in color and brown in eyes? And would we all, the Chinese and the black, walk in the room where there is all blue eyes and blonde and nobody knows the reality where we are from? The physicality of the man is a chameleon of the soul of the man. It's the man who has to decide how it manifests itself. And in a very short time, going into deep space, we will see how good a chameleon we are. Because while we think we are the prey, we get preyed on. If we do not understand the work of the universe, and we only get preyed on by another man, not by the members of the universal community. Because if we don't change our ethos, if we don't understand the work of life in the universe, we do not see that what was a man has converted to a lamb, and we hunted it, is our own brother. There should be no fear of mistake if we understood the ethos of the universe, because we do not make a mistake. I explained this in some of the teaching, private teachings, and I bring it out for a lot of people to understand why man needs to understand. And in a sentence, a couple of minutes ago, I explained. Now that man has gained the knowledge that through his soul can manifest itself as anything else, and let's say your son or your father, being pure in the soul, decides to understand and experience the life of a lamb, and you become the hunter. And at hunting, you realize you hunted your own son, your father. Would you eat it? It's a harsh way to put, but it's the reality of what will come to the man very soon. As some of us become pure in understanding of the work and become control of our own soul, then as man by his habit is adventurous, we would like to know how a fish feels, and then we get hunted and get fished. Would you like to come at the end of the hook and say, stop eating me, I'm a man, I'm just testing? Or you can never be caught because no one is in fishing business to kill another animal. Move this into deep space. This is the essential point why we have taught this way. The message of peace is preservation of man from his own pain in the future. In peace at mind, in peace at soul, in peace in the environment, we do not touch. To use, to harm. And then we understand the reason why. Teaching this way is the only way that the man in the future will change the course. It's not by punishment, but by understanding I cannot be the one who harms another. Not me, I shall not fish. Not fear of that fish might be my son or my father, but if I don't fish, I cannot be fished. When I test it, is the trust in the structure, is a trust in the environment we are. Shall we be stolen from, or we can trust nothing will happen. I'll give you an example, very strange examples. Some time ago, some of the knowledge seekers came to see us in Italy. And while they were with us in 2 or 3 days, they got dropped 2 or 3 times. Everything they had, they know who they are when they listen to the teaching. They got robbed while they went to buy something to find the thing, and they got robbed again. And the answer was very easy. This is Italy. Everybody steals. A few days ago, I was in another country and we were passing. There was a shopping basket, a trolley, with full of everything you can imagine in a household, drinks, vegetation, vegetables, everything else. And this cart was left in the car park near I left. We went for a coffee, we went for whatever. We came back sometimes later. The trolley was moved to the side that nobody cannot go anywhere, and it was still there. Not a single piece as I could see, because I went and opened the bag before I go down, because it was very strange. Who left this bag? By the lift, this trolley, maybe $100, $200 of shopping in it. On the middle of the car park, by the lift, by the staircase, nobody touches it. Came back, still there. I presume if I go back today, it'll still be there too as well. Is the ethos of our own trust in our own soul. In Italy, they go to work to rob. That's a well-known fact. People work 9 to 5 to steal. And at the end of the day, whatever they stole is their income. In the other part of the world, people don't steal. Even if it's there, they can take it, because it's not theirs. They have matured enough. Is that maturity in the soul and trust in our manifestation of physicality which is needed by man across this planet for the whole totality to switch. This is what we need to understand. And then, would we like to still manifest ourselves in a car park where we can trust nothing or none? Or would you like to manifest yourself inside of Italy, that the minute you stand still, you're robbed? The problem is how we've matured in understanding, but not out of fear of punishment. And the same will go when a man goes into space. Go deep inside yourself and look for the strength of your dimension in understanding. The strength of your own soul, the strength of your own ethos, and then see what is the next step. Then, if you understood, and you can stand in front of the mirror and change the color of your eyes from blue to brown, or brown to blue, and then still be of the same ethos, then you have matured to take into space. As I said, we do not teach anymore. We do not, never taught. But as messengers, we inspire for man to find his own strength, not weakness. And this is the job that more and more in the teachings we direction to. Because, as I said, you all know how to make ganses. And many of you have learned how to make a lot of other things with it. Now, you understood the fields which come with the ganses. You understood the interaction of the fields, which is the creator of the soul. And now, how you're going to manifest the soul in different dimensions as you become the passengers of the universe. Or do you still need to have a system to fly to confirm that you understood the field's interaction, that next time I might go for my soul? Because I'm not sure about the fields yet. I have to see something that I can fool myself. I can still see physicality. Something flying to confirm to me I'm right with my soul. Next time I try it with my soul. Any questions?
Mr. Kesh,
Yes, Azar.
may I say a few things about the piece and then ask a question?
Yes. You have become more or less a teacher out of a student here, so you can.
Okay, thank you. Because, you know, we were talking about peace, and I've been listening, and we talk about conquering the peace. How can we work to get to peace, and we dwelling on it, how we can achieve it. And then I was thinking, you know, just one day I was looking at the water, and I saw water is so peaceful. And then I realized water doesn't have, I mean, water doesn't force anything. Water just allows, I mean, when it moves. If I make an example, like I was thinking, if I was looking at a piece of land, and on the other side of the land, I make a hole, and I'm standing on this side, and I take a bucket of water, and before I throw the water, I take a few pebbles, put it there. Another place I put a couple of rocks. Another place I put sand. Another place I put salt. I put different things, maybe a piece of wood. And then I put this bucket of water, a pitcher of water, start from this side and let the water runs. I mean, you look at the water, you see it goes to the pebbles, and then it go to all the crevices, fill up all the pebble, and then moves to the next. When it gets to the rock, if it's not too much of water, it just stand there and it fills around it, and then eventually you see it goes around it and goes after that on the other side comes out. When it gets to the salt, I see like they satisfy the salt, it melt the salt and then moves and finally get to the destination, which is the hole. And then if you put like a lot of water, the water goes above the rock. So the water never makes any hole in the rock. It never hurts the rock. It just tries to find a way to go through it. So it's very peaceful. I mean, we look at the water. When water comes over our homes, we look at it, it's not peaceful, but actually it is peaceful. But it shows us the strength. So if we look at ourselves, you know, each of us has a soul, and our soul has a strength. So if each of us find the peace within ourselves according to our strength, then the universe becomes peaceful. Because like we are not the same. For example, sometimes I have to be the shaper, and sometimes I have to be the one who is being shaped. Sometimes I have to be the receptive, and sometimes I have to be the creative. So depending on what comes through my life, I have to keep doing what is necessary according what brings peace in me. So it has to do with the strength and the what is really peaceful. And now my question is this. We talk about joy and live life with joy and stay with love. We talk about it all the time, but at the same time, we talk about detachment from physicality. Imagine if you live on a street and next door your neighbor, is a carpenter. And every day you pass by his shop and he lives the same place. He has a wife and 2 kids. And you see this man really every day he sits by his desk and he's making this beautiful furniture. He loves doing it. He makes a living. He has a beautiful family. He's sharing his love with everybody. So he's perfect. He's peaceful. If you knock on his door one day and you want to tell him detach from physicality, what would you tell him?
Very easy. What have you taught him? Because by going to his door, you haven't taught him anything, but you understood more. He has to understand that there is another position, there is another dimension. Then you give him the choice what he can do. Because to him, that's all he knows. You haven't educated him. The
So
question is
his joy is in physicality then. That all he's
no, because that's how it's been up to now for him. But if you enlighten him to understand his soul, would he make the same furniture, or would he change the furniture he makes? That he embeds the soul of the wood in it. You remember, go back to what I always thought, and I was talking to a couple of knowledge seekers this morning, and it went through my head. They're so concentrated in trying to achieve lift and motion that in the whole process they have forgotten the ethos of the work. Can I have your blessing to be able to see the pleasure of flight? The whole target for them is just to build the system that it flies. In a very short time, Keshua Nation will show the flight system is done by the knowledge seekers. I'm just guiding them because it's time to show. But one thing which I do not see is blessing of soul to the system. I give you my knowledge for you to fly, that I see the beauty of the flight. You cannot make a butcher out of a carpenter unless you teach him the art of butchery. How to cut the meat, how to do it. You cannot show a man how to become an aircraft builder when he's a carpenter unless you teach him. You cannot ask, knock on the door, says, what are you going to do? You have to teach him. For him, not only because you taught, you have to inspire him that he understands the essence of the soul of the wood, not his own soul, because then he creates a different thing. Or would he ever touch a wood? Because he understands his entity. Or will respect it, that what would you like me to show you as? It's a different way to look. And then you find out the carpenter inspired. Then he can make a difference in his life, in respect to his soul and his life. Not every man on this planet is looking for a change, because this is what they accepted to be. I was sitting in a restaurant with Caroline very recently, and she said, you know, Mehran, how many of these people across the other side of the world know about their soul? Know about the teaching how to be and how much they can change. Why can't we reach them? I said, we already have reached them, because we speak the language through the soul. It's the way we have to look at it. Can we inspire, or have we forgotten how to inspire? It is the understanding of ourselves which is the problem, not them. How much we understood and how much we understand. This is the problem. What do we expect of ourselves? And how much we think we have learned that we can teach, that by teaching we let them to inspire themselves. As I've said very recently again, a lot of scientific world does not like the way the Keshe Foundation has gone into teaching of the science, into operation of understanding of the soul of the man, because they haven't matured yet. They don't understand the whole purpose of living is to understand, to live a peaceful life, and through it to understand their own creation. And this has become, and is becoming, a bigger and bigger problem for the scientific world, because now in their level they understand the change, but in their function, in their life, how can they match it or change it? So we see the change. We see a lot of people around that want to be, like to be, but they cannot be, because then it does not work with what they completed themselves in their knowledge. The depth of the knowledge transferred in the past, especially 6-8 months, it's so huge that will take humanity centuries to unravel. Everything is needed for man to achieve peace on this planet is on the table. And it's literally one word, it's the soul of the man. Is the existence of the soul of the man. And we have not managed to teach that yet to the other souls, because they do not want to be detached from the table of physicality. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you very much, Hassan. Teaching is not anymore about making magrabs and showing ganses. Now we have to look at the gans of our own soul and the structure of our own physicality, which is manifests itself through it. Anybody would like to share a knowledge with us or ask a question?
Yes, I'm Ursula. I want to share something, please.
Yes, please go ahead. What do you want to share?
Everybody, what I'm feeling as universal counselor and as knowledge seeker, it goes very far in consciousness. What happening now? It's not about magrabs or guns, and I feel it very strong. I have been in Rome, the Universal Council meeting, the first one, and I hear from you that is a school of soul. And sorry, and all this goes very deep in the heart. As Wayne talked about his experience, I was living in Argentina at the time of war with Malvinas and Falklands, and I lived many strong experience. At this time, my mother was died, and I feel that manipulation system that we forgot today, always here in Europe. We are living now from 42 years. I was born in Argentina. My mother was German. She was schizophrenic. I was only child. And I heard from you in private teaching what is schizophrenia about. And from this time, my life changed because I forgive her and I love her now. My mother was Italian, I've never known. My father-in-law Austrian, and I'm living in France now. 42 years ago, have three beautiful boys, grown up now. And when you talk about ethos, I don't know what ethos I have exactly. And I feel I have an universal ethos because I am everything and nothing really. And I can feel everybody. I can really feel China's and black, and I have never been there, but I can feel it because I meet here so many people from this nationality, emigrate as me. And when you talk about peace. Once we know who we are and what we are doing on earth, and we feel that the most important is to have our own peace inside and feel it really. We are all attached to families, to our lands, to our political problems. Even now with all these vaccines here in France, 11 and 12 in Italy, it's very scary. But when we talk to people and we feel that they are all waking up now, it's very beautiful to see, and that we can grow in this foundation. I thank you so much, because I was learning for many years all own development, and I am naturopath. I have my own website. I give it for free information. There's 500 people coming on, and of course, Kesh Foundation has this great place. And we can only be ourselves for each this. And that peace we are wishing now, we can feel it and we can shine, only being. And I know we can do it without competition when we can give it all to others. We are inspired, and we can inspire for others only with our being. And really, it's a feeling, freedom feeling, so big one and so great. And we feel now that we can reach it. And really, thank you so much, you and Caroline, and all those who are participating in the core team. I'm a new Universal Council, and I'm really so proud to be and to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The process for us is very much not sharing knowledge in the verbal sense, but sharing the peace that through our souls reaches the others. Very recently, I saw a change, but the change is so huge that the people who want to create it through the Keshe Foundation work have got into a panic. It's a literal physical panic. And they know who they are. And my message to them is very simple. The only people who need to panic are those who have kept everything the same as the past. Those who are the men of power and stand in the ethos of the peace, and they have found that peace within themselves by creating for their nations. Every move will come and will bring another fruit of peace. We should not be afraid of it, we should be proud of it, that we can be the peacemakers. When we speak about what I call beautiful people, we have to understand something very strange about these people. And is when one dies, or the soul removes itself from physicality, does that force the other souls to leave too? As the collective of souls was the creator of the physicality. We got to understand a human body, as I call the whole 7 billion of us, plus billions of the other creatures within this planet. We are like that schizophrenic condition, or what I call beautiful people. We are all beautiful, but we are all part of one soul, which is the soul of this planet. Has a heartbeat, and it's got a soul beat. And that beating of the soul of this planet is the beating of the soul of the man. When one of us leaves the physicality in the dimension of the soul of this planet, does the planet die? Or uses our soul as part of its structure to show itself more beautiful and free? This is a question for a lot of us which we have not answered. And we cannot answer because we ourselves are not aware of totality. Because when we face the totality, it is so beautiful that we ask one question: why? Simply why? Why we have killed so much? Why we have destroyed so much? Why we have created so much mayhem? When would we mature? Or can we mature that we mature the others, that through their maturity we achieve peace within ourselves? When I see problems, that what is on the horizon and what is to be done and what is done to create wars, I look at one thing: where have I not reached? I don't look at it as a failure, but I look at it that what these people are there to learn from each other and from the process, that will bring a lasting peace, that from it, from now on, they don't need to do wrong. We don't pick on nations, as the nations don't exist anymore. We go through the soul of their, what I call, Universal Council members and the others to reach. There is a lot of changes around, and very good ones. My wish is to achieve the first steps towards world peace before end of this year. And we are on track. I know there are souls who work in that direction, and they'll bring the first steps. To achieve peace, there will be a lot of cries by those who think they're going to lose a lot. It's the situations which we see which changes us, and we do not like to change or see changes which, because of us, has been caused to be and causes suffering to the others. In the past few weeks I've withdrawn quite a lot from working around the foundation, because I could not understand how something which is so wrong is done to create such a mayhem in humanity has gone further in taking life of humanity. I don't look at it as a failure of the structure of the soul of the man. I look at it as how much more man needs to mature. What direction do we need to inspire that becomes that sparkling that the rest will ignite? The problem is continuous affirmation of violence at this moment is the biggest problem. how very few television channels have taken over the peace, not to be there. Violence has become the pattern of the politicians through their work and through their talks and through their actions. And others are afraid of how these violent world leaders will react if we react peaceful. My message to world leaders are very simple. I know you're listening and you know exactly who we're talking to. Do not be afraid of the reaction to the peace. Be joyful of what it'll bring. I made my wish in my writing that the World Peace Treaty to be taken on the floor of United Nations, to convert United Nations to a peaceful organization. This is a cornerstone of peace. It has to be done. And the structures have been set for it to be done, and it shall be done, with or without the world leaders. Signing of the World Peace Treaty by one of the world leaders is a cornerstone of the start of the world peace. And those who listen to and understand exactly why I talk and what I'm talking about is take the course and sign the peace treaty. And that will be the beginning of the world peace as we all dreamt about. Becomes a reality, and the man will find his soul. And the whole process will come that through this peace, those who have not been inspired will have and reach time to inspire themselves to understand their souls. Because the time and the position created by the world leaders will allow man to mature very rapidly in matter of months. My request from the world leader, he knows exactly who I'm talking about, is, Your Excellency, please sign the World Peace Treaty. Your team and our team have agreed on the wording. Now is the pen. One of the problem with the world leaders is they are afraid of consequential response by the others. But in so many ways, the other world leaders are scared to do it because they don't know what will be the reaction by the others, as they all need this. We need not want to start. The process has already started. We need the beginning of the end. Any other question?
Well, Mr. Cash?
Yes, Chala.
Actually, this is Boniface. I'm a knowledge seeker from California.
Oh, you sound like Jalal.
Okay. I take it
I do apologize.
as a compliment. No problem. Again, thank you for everything you are doing for humanity and the leadership that you are demonstrating it. You mentioned that the councils and the core group and the teams are working on the books. And considering the subject we've been talking about, peace and beauty, I created a picture, a very basic picture, and I sent it to the webmaster so that hopefully the council maybe consider it and incorporate it in the CDC fit. But it is about peace, as I've heard you describe it through the many teachings that you have given so far. The middle of this picture is the universal symbol for peace, which is the dove. And I've identified about 6 main branches that speak to this subject of peace. Because even though we are very concerned about war and aggression and those kinds of things, that is one component of peace, absence of war and all that goes with it. But, elevating souls is also peace, and charity is peace, and unconditional love is peace, and sharing knowledge is peace, and things like that. So I've identified about 6 main components that I've heard you describe. And they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I thought if we look at something like that, we'll be mindful that we have a comprehensive sense of this piece we're talking about. And there's room to add some more components if we identify them along the way. So I just wanted to point that out and share that, and hopefully the webmaster can get that to you and also to consider. Perhaps you can improve on it. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you know, these things now is in the hand of the councils as they decide in how to take shape and what they want to see in what shape or form. Thank you very much for your input, and I'm sure the webmasters will pass it on to the member of the councils and they discuss it in their weekly meeting. There is hours of work. Thank you very much. There's hours of work is going into setting up the ethos and the work of the foundation. And there's a lot of work which has been done. There's a lot of work getting done by members of the councils in continuously making sure that they achieve what is needed by everyone, that we can reach this position.
Thank you. Again, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Jalal, strangely enough, did have his hand up, and I promoted him to a panelist. Did you have something to say, Jalal? He might be busy.
Yes, I have, but now it's very
not the right time.
Yeah, not right time. In 5 minutes, so thank you.
Okay, good. Mr. Kesh also had a notice here from Pete, who's the Universal Council for Polish, and he says he has a 10 or 15 minute presentation with slides and so on about the topic we are talking about today. Is that something you'd like to entertain?
Have you seen it that there is no copyright material on it?
No, I haven't seen it so far as I know, but
can we check it?
He says he's only has like 30 minutes, then he's off to a meeting, and that was a few minutes ago.
Yes, but that we have to understand. If we can send it to you, we can show it next time.
Okay.
We are very, very careful in showing. We appreciate the time you put to these presentations, but you have to understand that unknowingly sometimes there are infringements onto copyrights or other intellectual rights or music rights.
Rick?
Yes?
I was just going to ask if this document was shown during the last council, as he is a member of the council.
I'm not sure. He says he's going to send it to me now, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to look it over. There's 8 slides, apparently.
Can you check if there is no music with it?
Okay, I'll have a look at it, yep. Now we had a question from Trevor in the live stream, perhaps we can address. He says, if prayer is the attitude of gratitude, I want to know who we talk to when we talk to the God source. Is it a conversation with our own soul or the soul of the universe? Or is it all the same?
It's all the same. Depends where you want to bank it. You want to bank it in the branch, or do you want to bank it at the head office? The interest pay is the same.
But the initial deposit could be different.
Depends what you put in. For those of you who don't know, or we can repeat, a number of core members are always present in all the teachings. And we have their blessing to be with us. They've been there. They stood as the strength of the foundation in the background and with the foundation. Rick is one of them, Vince is another. And there are other members of the core team in the teaching. And in time, the 14 members of the core team, the souls, and the future selection of those who they choose to be the members in their replacement will continuously support and work in the same direction. There are 14 members into the core team, and in different ways and different times they have participated in development of the technology and spreading the knowledge. And we thank all of them for what they have brought on the table of knowledge and what I call the cornerstone of peace for humanity.
Can we invite the galactic community?
We don't believe in that one, but we allow them as a universal community to join us as we join them. The man has to become wise to understand his own position before he can go into the next step.
Good day, Mr. Kash.
Yes, good day, Jalal.
How are you, sir?
We're still good.
Thanks, God. Sir, you just said before that the soul in the lamb, it's there to experience this life. So if I want to put it in one way, is that the same thing that I experience in one way? Because we are all connected in somehow.
What do you mean by?
You said if you killed this lamb to eat it, and you don't know that this lamb is your son or your father or your one of these souls. So that means this soul, it was before in a way in a man, and then went to the so in the body of a lamb to experience something.
Yeah. What about it?
Sorry, Mr. Cash, it's a little bit nervous. I am at work and I cannot speak now because it's a lot of noise. Sorry.
No problem. The lamb was symbolic. So what it is, in essence, is means man has to stop hunting and killing, or whatever they might think. I had a very strange experience with this, the ethos which has been pushed around by some world leaders. We have to create war to create peace. And to justify that, they have to create enemies. And to have enemies, they have to make arms for it, that they can use it against the enemy, that there is an enemy. The reality is, what do these people get out of creating this war? Is sense of power. Is they feel the strength that we have to abolish or overcome in the human race, or in the race, or any animals or being on this planet. This is one of the biggest problems which man has to conquer. The strength of feeling of power, of being powerful, that you can do. Doesn't matter over animal, another person, a society, a community, or whatever. Our biggest hurdle is to understand the measurement of the strength of the feel. We call it the shame, we call it the pain, but the power. This, if man finds out, and can be adjusted, then we have solved most probably 99% of the problem with the peace on this planet. What is the strength of the emotion of power? Each one of us experience it through different position and tests and different conditions. A world leader experiences it in how he can change things. A teacher does it differently. A father does different. So does a child towards his sibling or an animal or something else. When we said there must be an end to the kingship, or leadership as we see it, that we are all equal, is to find that power, the strength, in the soul conversion of the emotion of the man to his physicality. This is one of the biggest problems that the human race will face in the coming time. How to overcome the kingship, the power that one is more powerful than another one and has to exert it. This is one of the key problems and the solution to the world peace. What happens if we elevate all the souls, that they get stuck at the level of the power and they all want to be king? or we understand there is the step is much higher, the beauty is much what I call delicious to see if we look at the totality of the piece. I always admired one person, and it's been a pleasure to know and to be alive when this man has been alive, is President Gorbachev. He is a man who understood this, that single man to be a leader is not worth for millions of people to be kept in the slave. And he opened the Russian territory to let people choose their time and the place and what they want to be. My son came to me a few days ago and says, Papa, do you know something? You know that guy who killed so many? There is a man who killed more than him, and nobody talks about him. And I said, which man? He said, you know who killed the Jews? He killed 6 million or whatever. I said, yes. He said, but this guy has killed 20 million, maybe more, but they say 20. I said, who? He said, his name is Lenin or Stalin. I said, where have you read this? He said, it's there on the internet. I didn't know there was somebody worse than the other guy called Hitler who killed so many. But he killed everybody in one country that many. I stood still with the thought that how much fame we gather by killing, who's killed more, and how President Gorbachev walked away from this killing. Being a president of one of the most powerful nations had no meaning when other people had to suffer as him to be, but for him to keep. And I have a lot of admiration for this man. Always admired his audacity to make such a move, and with it we have seen many others. He was cornered to that, to create a war, but by opening Russia he walked away from wars. And in a way what was planned did not work for those who were hoping to sell a lot of war tools. But in the background he negotiated peace with all the new Russian leaders when the USSR split. So we have to find out what touched President Gorbachev. What is that strength? That one selfishness of power is not worth harming the others. And the others killed to be in the power which has no power. If he wouldn't done, most probably would have seen more massacres than silencing so much revolutions across. But he understood. He fully understood that Western world has infiltrated through Russia through different ways, and it would have been a feeble decision to make to fight it. And it's better to let go and then give the people the freedom they wanted, and he will stay one of the most admired leaders for time to come, where his position of power had no meaning when he understood the life of the others are more important. How we sacrifice our souls for the benefit of the others is not sacrifice, but the generosity of giving.
Mr. Cash, can I say something, please?
Yes.
You know, you bring me for one story. It happens in Iraq in the 60s. In that time, we have a president called Qasim. This man is when they killed him, he didn't have $1 in his pocket, and even he don't he didn't have a house. He's when he died, he was in a rental house. But the thing here, when the enemies, the party who killed him and take the rule from him, when they came to Baghdad, all the people was with this President Qasim, and in the street they told him, "Give us weapon that we can defend you and defend Iraq." And then he said, "No single one drop of blood come to helping me. I don't want that." And even the soldiers and the generals who was with him, he told them, "Go out, please. They want me only, so you can go out." And when the soldiers came and seeking for him, he went out to them and said, "Okay, you want Qasim? Here's Qasim. I am there. You take me. Don't kill anyone. Don't harm anyone." But the thing is that he chose not to be in war and not to be to kill anyone in Iraq. But the problem after that, what this party, when he came to the rule, how much they killed, and how much suffering we have until now from this situation, from this small maybe 1 hour of thinking. So is that because we need to experience this misery, or is that a pay time for whole Iraq people? If you can answer that, Mr. Cash, I will appreciate it.
The point, we are not in the head of these leaders. I knew president is not alive anymore. He had to make a decision to stay in power or be killed, or he starts a struggle in the country to get rid of certain powers. And he decided to leave because he could not see his nation to be divided or war within a small nation. I understood when he stepped down, and in the long term, I understood his vision of his country. His vision of country was that the nation stays a peaceful nation, and then we saw the guy who came into power literally ransacked the nation the way he liked, as you've seen it in your country. But in my contact with a new leader, new president, and my contact with the old president, I saw one thing: the same misjustices carried on, they just changed name. But some managed to cover it well, and the others didn't. When we see these world leaders who take these kind of steps, we have to see what they've done in the background themselves. Some of them did for the benefit of the nation, but some of them did for the benefit of themselves and the people around it. We can never judge, we can never understand, but what the end product is, that how much did the nation gain by them, or how much the nation lost by their action. It's the process that we have to allow the souls to judge, not for us. To what extent we can accept it, or they can accept it themselves. I don't see any reason for power struggle to become a leader in the nations, but they have a different criteria because they think they can change it. And when they come to power, they carry on with the same thing under a different name. We've seen it all the time, and we see it currently happening in a couple of nations. Some leaders fighting to stay to be in power, and they claim to be a peaceful presidents and heads, and some who claim to be peaceful presidents are killing more than anybody else can imagine. So, which one is fooling us better? I think is the answer. Or have we become so mature that we know nobody can fool us? We just say yes.
Or maybe it's lessons for the future generations.
What have the future generation learned from the situation in Iraq? From both sides?
Nothing.
Still carrying on the same?
It's worse.
Different names. This is what we haven't learned. So we learn we've got to change the soul of the man, not the pocket of the man. I remember, if you remember, they were chasing the sons of Saddam Hussein with trucks of gold, chasing them around Iraq to find them, if you remember. Where did the sons go and where did the gold go?
I was there. I know that.
Pardon?
I was there. I know what's happening there.
Yep. Abuse of power has been part of the history of the man. It does not matter what the scale. We have to sort that emotion of power, that we are more powerful than the others, or we can do more than others. If we overcome that, we have achieved peace. But as I said, these are left to the last stage of peace process, because it means we are maturing to that point.
And
It's
I think I think you said it before. Eye for eye.
Is it? Would it help?
If we understand it, yes. But if we don't understand, it will still 10 for 1.
Pardon?
If we understand it, yes, it will help. But if we don't understand it, it will be worse.
What do you mean? Eye for an eye?
Yes.
What would that help? What would that bring about? Tried it 2,000 years. Tried for 2,000 years by the Christians. He's made more murders than anything else.
Yes, because we didn't understand fully what that mean.
So what does it mean, eye for an eye? What do we do now?
You stop hurting anyone. You stop killing any. You stop taking energy from another.
In a way, it's the way, but how we can mature it is another thing. I was talking to a person very recently in the past few days. They expect change in physicality because now they do not eat more. But they don't understand the change in physicality doesn't come by eating less because of use Magrab systems or ganses. It comes in the eye of a beholder in what they expect from this change. It's very strange. They do not see. That's one of the strangest parts. The expectation has not brought understanding. And this is one of the biggest problems around the foundation. People are expecting to see something, otherwise there is something wrong with the work of the foundation and them. But what is the strangest thing I can ask, and I put it to some people very recently. Now that you understand, being around the foundation, that you are responsible, you are the creator, you are the prophet of your own soul, what are you going to do with the ones you haven't managed to become a prophet of? Because you haven't managed to control, and you blame the others for it. This is the biggest problem. Now every single one of you has become a prophet, and every single one of you wishes peace, but why can't you convert the others? Isn't it the truth that you don't believe it inside you that you can become and be a peaceful man when it comes to it? So, how can you do it and believe in what you're doing and still try to understand that I am part of it? Now, you all wish peace and you all become part of it. You want to be part of it, but there's one question you forget. Now, I am the prophet. I am the Messiah of my own soul, but what can I, why can I not touch the others? This is your biggest dilemma. It's the biggest dilemma which sits around the work of those people who would like to be the man of peace, and they find out, as I've said, you all wanted peace. Now you understand, you're waiting for a Messiah to come. You're waiting for a day of judgment. You're waiting for the final day that the peace will come. And now you see it's you from the beginning to the end. What happened to it? This is the biggest problem for most of people around. Now that they come to understand the work, that they are responsible, they are the messiahs, they are the day of judgment. The day of judgment has come the day you realize it's your soul which is responsible for everything. And now you have to judge it. You start judging your own work, your own soul, your own deed. So now what's the next? So all your messiahs, what is your wish and what is your command? What can you bring to the others to elevate them? I have reached many millions and billions, and beyond this time. I've done it many times before. But I know what the outcome will be. I can see the end. But the end comes when every individual accepts his position and responsibility of his own soul. That's the day of judgment. That's when you become Messiah of your own selves, your own soul. There'll be many world leaders who like to be in power, but when you are in power position of your own soul, nobody can be your world leader. Then we're going to ask for a universal leader, then we're going to look for the galaxy leaders, and then we're going to look for unicos leaders. We're always submissive to something we think it is bigger than us, but we are the beginning and the end. This is what we have to mature into and nothing else. This is the point you find peace.
Mr. Kesh, there's a question in the live stream that maybe you can help address in that regard. Trevor asks, if we are made in God's image, does God have the same issue with greed? And if so, then it is not God. For God created everything. Where does the greed in man come from then?
The conflict with one is emotion and its physicality. It's the conflict of the man himself with his physicality. God owns everything, He possesses everything, so He doesn't need to kill for it to possess what He already possesses.
So Wolfgang asks, who is setting our filters that prevent the shining of our souls and the whole soul? Is it a misfunctioning brain?
No, it's the interaction between the fields of the planet and the soul of the man. It's very much a field interaction and how it's been set to be. There's a very strange behavior which we become partially ingrained in our emotion with it, and that's the submissiveness to power, or submissiveness to accepting guilt. When you shake hand with certain nations versus nationals, you shake hand with all of them the same way, according to their feeling and emotion and standing through the history of their life. I have developed awareness that you assess the person you shake hand with in a position into where and how the mental state is in everything else, and you're 99% correct. Different nationalities shake hand different way, and different nationalities hide their weakness and hierarchy and kingship different way. And different nationalities, through the physical interaction, show their national behavior. Walk on the street and choose people by race, creed and color and shake hand with them. But observe how they hold their hand, how they give their hand, how much of their hand, how they position their hand, and then remember this, and then choose another man with the same structure in the crowd and shake hand with. 99% you get the same shake hand. Because it's the way of, when we say speaking a language, through the soul of language, we show our structure through our physical interaction, which is part of our vocabulary of talk. So we accept, and we have been brought up to be able for somebody else to judge us or be ahead of us, or we think we are the head and we move on. And it's the way we have what we call non-verbal language, which is a physical language, is the same as the same language. You shake hands with certain people, they don't give you more than the tip of their fingers. Then if you look at the culture, you see it. You shake hands with some people, they shake hand in a, specifically each nation and culture has a specific handshake or the feature of greeting. That greeting is part of submissiveness, but being above or below us. And this is the problem that we have to overcome. The power, the strength of the power through submission of souls, one being better than the other or the other. And how, because once we overcome this in the space, when we come across any other creatures of the universe, we stand tall the same. Even so they don't see our physicality, our soul radiates that it has no weakness in it. It's a lot to learn.
Mr. Kesh, can I ask a question, please?
Who's speaking?
This is Ioannis from Greece.
Yes.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Yes, depends if I like to answer it.
Okay. So yesterday I've been chatting with a group of friends about in the instance of war starting, what would be the right thing to do if you had to protect your family. And I had an inner conflict on this one because I never want to harm another person. But then if I had to protect my own family, I might have to either walk away or harm another person. So what would the right thing to do? What would the right thing to do be if you had like to protect your children?
There are two ways to answer it, and there are many ways to contemplate. You can walk away in a different direction, or you can walk towards it and in so many ways understand what you do is correct and there is a good result or good outcome from it. I've been in that position many times regarding my family, so I know exactly what you're talking about, I hope. And when it comes to protecting your family, there are two ways. You walk away from the structure of what is set. This is not cowardice, this is a wisdom. I choose the path of no conflict. Or you walk towards a conflict and understand that my soul understanding can convert the other. You sit, you look eye to eye. You know, when in very recent past, few years ago, they sent an assassin to kill me. The assassin came and sat in front of me with a hat on. I knew he's an assassin, he's going to kill me. He looked me in the eye and I looked him in the eye. I had no doubt he's there to overcome his fear. And when I consulted our advisors, they said he's come to overcome his fear. You were correct. In so many ways, when he came to do his job, I wasn't there. Because my soul was aware of, and in a way, coincidentally, but in a way, soul awareness, I was not there. I learned a lot from this, and in my second attempt at my assassination and killing me, the guy sat in front of me for weeks giving me poison. And I knew who he is and how he's done, what he's doing. We got to realize these things goes by the strength of the soul. If it's the time to leave the physical life, the time is there, you cannot change. If it is the right decision of the soul, you have something to accomplish, you will stay there and you accomplish what you are supposed to do. The fear is the problem. And you don't need to be in any shape or form afraid of dying. Because the death comes to all of us in the physical dimension. When I sat 11 days um, in the airport, and every day they said they're going to put a bullet in my head, I knew the guy has more fear than me in him and me, otherwise he would have done it. I've been in this situation a few times because of the technology and nothing else. And these people have more fear in them than you have. And most of the time, it's better to face them because in your soul you know you are correct. Or you walk away from it because you make a decision that I don't want it to be faced. And I've been in both positions. The inner strength in the soul of the man is the salvation of the man. and you have to know your soul better.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Shall we call it a day?
Well, Mr. Kesh, it's been about little over 3 hours here. It's up to you whether you want to carry
Shall
on
we
any
call
further.
it a day?
Okay, sure, we can do that.
Do you have a question, Mr. Cash?
Do I have a question?
No, there's
I
a
have
good
many,
question.
many questions. I
Okay,
have
give us one
many,
question.
many.
Ask one.
The question I always had is, why does man see end of a life to a solution for the problem he has? Why doesn't man stand the ground and work it out?
My parents taught me that I'll understand everything when I die, and that's incorrect. I will understand it much before that, and we don't die.
We never die. This is one thing I don't understand. People walk away from a lot of things, or they destroy a lot of things not to face it. But what about if you stand the ground and see what comes up? What is the strength of you? Not to fight it to change, but to understand why people kill, to see a solution. Why do so many world leaders or many people see killing something else is the answer to their problem, solving their problem?
They truly thought that an unfair advantage was acceptable, which it is not.
What do you
If you
call
have
what do you call an unfair advantage?
an unfair advantage is power over somebody or greater, something that you've stolen in order to perceive that you're better, but that means
You can survive it.
no. What?
That you can survive it?
It's greed.
I was spoken about this before. I met a woman, very slim, very thin, and she had a sister, very fat, extremely oversized, if I can call it. And she was telling me about that they were both abused from age of 4 or 5. And I explained to her something very, very simple. And that was more or less the last time I saw her. I said, the reason you stay like this, thin, was this and this. And the reason your sister is fat so much is this and this. And she said to me, Mr. Kesh, you're the first one who understood my secret. And you're correct. So, each one of us under the same condition, we take steps, different decisions, and we accept it. We use it to survive, or we fight it to reject it and to survive too. At the end of the day, what is acceptable to us and what can be acceptable to us counts. But as long as it's not a power play, because she understood she was playing a power game and nobody ever understood that. We all play one way or another. It's for us to understand the process, which is important, and then we can graduate with what I call it, with the right understanding. The soul of the man is present even in the absence of the man. because you are connected by fields to the others. And this is what most of people have not understood. We always look physically to be present, that we can hear. When you come to my stage and my level, and most of you are reaching that level, you understand. You do not need to be there to have the ear to listen, but the soul give you the information you need to know. And souls never lie. Any other question, or shall we call it a day? But find one solution in your soul, as you asked me, was my question. What does make man to see killing a solution for his survival? Not necessarily another man, a plant, a tree, a fish. It's all the same. It's us who's put different value to justify our existence.
How does greed ensure survival?
Is there any survival in greed?
Not really.
I think you answered. Thank you very much. We go out as usual with the music. And thank you very much, Rick, for all these beautiful shows you put in the background.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh, for the beautiful show that you've been putting on for the last few years here of intense teachings every week. Everything came together here. Okay, we'll play the slideshow as the
thank you very much.
I think they've been just as dynamic, these workshops, as those magnets you have on the table.
Thank you very much.
See you. Let me get the screen share up here.
What would happen if you nano-coat these coppers?
Well, actually, I haven't done that, other than some of them start to turn dark after time, and you have to polish them up to make them shiny. But yes, that's a good idea. That's something that needs to be done. You then have a rotating plasmatic field rather than the matter level field, perhaps. So
let's see next week. I'm sure you're going to do it.
Okay, sounds good. It's a
See you
challenge
next
for
week.
next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Okay.
This has been the 189th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, September 14th, 2017. As always, thank you everybody for attending.
Thank you.